My mom tried to set my boyfriend up with my sister because she thought my sister deserved him more. His name was Carter, and I met him at a friend's birthday party when I was 19. He wasn't the loudest guy in the room, but he was the one people actually listened to. He was funny without trying too hard, calm without being boring, and the first guy I had dated who didn't make me feel like I had to beg for basic attention. We started talking that night, and within a few weeks, we were together. It wasn't dramatic at first. We went for food after class, watched movies at his place, sent stupid messages all day, and slowly became the couple everyone expected to see together. After 6 months, he had met most of my friends. After 8 months, I brought him home to meet my family. That was where everything started going wrong. My mom loved him immediately. Not in the normal way parents like someone their daughter is dating. It was too much from the start. She kept saying how respectful he was, how handsome he was, how rare it was to find a guy like him at our age. At first, I thought she was just happy for me. I had dated a few guys before Carter who were not exactly impressive, so I understood why she was relieved. Then my sister Emily walked in. Emily was 2 years older than me, and she had always been my mom's favorite. Nobody in our family said it out loud, but everyone knew. Emily got patience. I got criticism. Emily made mistakes, and my mom called it stress. I made mistakes, and my mom called it bad judgment. Emily cried, and my mom comforted her. I cried, and my mom asked why I was being dramatic. Emily was pretty, confident, and used to getting attention without asking for it. She was also single, which apparently became important the second my mom saw Carter standing in our kitchen. The first dinner was normal enough, but I noticed little things. My mom kept bringing Emily into the conversation. If Carter asked me about school, my mom would interrupt and say, "Emily had a class like that too." If Carter mentioned liking a movie, my mom would say, "Emily loves that movie." If Carter complimented my dress, my mom said, "Emily helped her choose that color. She has better taste." I laughed it off that night because it felt too weird to call out. Carter noticed too, but he didn't say anything until we got in the car. He asked, "Does your mom always compare you to your sister like that?" I said, "Pretty much." He said, "That's messed up." I shrugged because I didn't know what else to do. When something has happened your whole life, it starts feeling normal even when it isn't. After that dinner, my mom started asking about Carter all the time. Not how we were doing, not if I was happy. Just Carter. What was Carter studying? Did Carter have a job? Did Carter have brothers? Was Carter serious about me? Did Carter want a family someday? What did Carter think about Emily? That last one came up casually one afternoon while I was helping her put groceries away. She said, "Carter and Emily seemed to get along." I said, "They barely talked." She said, "I think they would have a lot in common if they did." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Over the next few months, she kept making comments like that. She would say things like, "Carter is very mature for his age. Emily needs someone mature." Or, "Emily has had such bad luck with men. It's sad because she deserves someone good." Or, "You're still young. You don't need to be so serious with one person already." I finally asked her what she meant. She looked at me like I had misunderstood something obvious and said, "I'm just saying you shouldn't rush. Carter seems like a good man, and good men are rare." I said, "He's my boyfriend." She said, "I know that." But the way she said it made my stomach feel weird. The first real problem happened at Emily's birthday dinner. Carter came with me because by then we had been together almost a year. My mom sat him next to Emily, even though I had clearly put my bag on the chair beside him. When I came back from the bathroom, Emily was sitting there and my mom had moved my bag to the other side of the table. I asked why. My mom said, "You can sit by me tonight. Let Emily talk to Carter a little. It's her birthday." I stared at her, waiting for her to realize how strange that sounded. She didn't. Carter looked uncomfortable, but I didn't want to start a fight in front of everyone, so I sat down. All through dinner, my mom kept pushing them into conversation. She brought up Emily's job, Emily's hobbies, Emily's favorite places to eat, Emily's dream vacation. At one point, she said, "Carter, you should take Emily hiking sometime. She needs someone outdoorsy to drag her out of the house." Carter laughed awkwardly and said, "I usually go hiking with my girlfriend." My mom smiled and said, "Of course, I just meant as friends." Emily didn't say much, but she didn't stop it either. She just sat there smiling into her glass like she enjoyed watching me get uncomfortable. After dinner, Carter apologized in the car even though he hadn't done anything wrong. He said, "Your mom is being really weird." I said, "I know." He asked, "Does she want me to date your sister?" I said, "No, that would be insane." Even as I said it, I knew I didn't fully believe it. A week later, my mom invited Carter to help move furniture at her house. She didn't ask me. She texted him directly. He showed me the message right away. It said, "Hi Carter, I hate to bother you, but Emily and I need help moving a dresser this Saturday. You're so strong and helpful. Could you come by?" I told him not to go. He said he wasn't planning to. Then my mom called me and said I was being selfish. She said Carter was practically family and helping for 1 hour wasn't a big deal. She said Emily had been struggling lately and it would be nice for her to have someone kind around. I said, "Mom, he's my boyfriend, not a rental boyfriend you can assign to Emily when she's sad." She got offended and said I was being disgusting. The next day, Emily texted Carter herself. "Hey, sorry if Mom made it weird. I really could use help though, no pressure." Carter showed me that too. I told him to ignore it. He did. That was when my mom stopped being subtle. She started criticizing me in front of Carter. If he came over for dinner, she would bring up embarrassing stories from when I was younger. If I said I was tired, she would say, "She's always been lazy about sleep." If I said I didn't want dessert, she would say, "She goes through phases where she thinks she's being healthy." If Carter complimented me, she would somehow turn it into Emily being better. One night, Carter brought me flowers. My mom saw them and said, "Emily loves flowers too, but no one ever thinks to bring her any." I said, "Maybe because he's not dating Emily." The room went quiet. My mom gave me that cold look she used when she wanted me to feel guilty, but didn't want to say anything in front of people. Carter put his hand on my leg under the table. Not in a romantic way. More like he was reminding me he was on my side. That mattered to me. For a while, I thought that was enough. Then Emily broke up with a guy she had been casually seeing, and my mom lost whatever small amount of sanity she had left. Suddenly, every conversation became about Emily being heartbroken, Emily needing support, Emily deserving better. My mom started inviting Carter and me over more often, but every time we got there, Emily was already there too. If I sat next to Carter, my mom asked me to help in the kitchen. If Carter followed me, she asked him to stay and keep Emily company. If Emily left the room, my mom told Carter to check on her. It got so obvious that even my dad noticed, and my dad usually noticed nothing until furniture was actually on fire. One Sunday, Emily came downstairs wearing one of my hoodies. It was a hoodie Carter had bought me. I said, "Why are you wearing that?" She said, "Mom said I could borrow it." I looked at my mom. She said, "It's just a hoodie. Don't be possessive." I said, "It was in my room." My mom said, "Emily was cold." Carter looked at Emily and said, "That's actually hers. I got it for her." Emily laughed and said, "Relax, I'm not stealing your girlfriend's hoodie." Nobody laughed with her. That night, I told my mom I was done bringing Carter over if she kept acting like this. She pretended not to understand. I said, "You keep trying to push him toward Emily." She said, "That's ridiculous." I said, "You moved my seat at her birthday. You texted him without asking me. You keep comparing us. You keep trying to leave them alone together." She stared at me for a few seconds and then said, "Maybe I just think Emily would appreciate someone like him more." That was the first time she said it clearly. I asked, "What does that mean?" She said, "It means you take things for granted. Emily has been through more. She deserves someone stable." I said, "He's not a prize you give to whichever daughter you feel worse for." She said, "You're twisting my words." I said, "No, I think I'm finally hearing them." After that, I stopped going over for family dinners. Carter supported it completely. He said he was tired of being treated like an object my mom could pass around. For 3 weeks, things were quiet. Then Emily followed Carter on Snapchat. He accepted because he didn't think it mattered. I didn't love it, but I didn't say anything because I was trying not to become the jealous girlfriend my mom kept acting like I was. 2 days later, Emily sent him a selfie, not a random one. A mirror picture in a tight black dress with the caption, "Is this too much for dinner?" Carter showed me immediately. I told him to leave it unopened. Then another message came in. "Don't tell my sister I asked. She'll make it weird." I took his phone and replied myself. This is his girlfriend. It's already weird. Emily left it unopened. 5 minutes later, my mom called me. She was furious. She said I had humiliated Emily. She said Emily was just asking for fashion advice. She said I was insecure and controlling. She said if I trusted Carter, I wouldn't care. I asked, why did Emily need fashion advice from my boyfriend? My mom said, because he has good taste. I said, then she can ask him through me. My mom snapped and said, this is why people get tired of you. That one hit. Carter saw my face change and took the phone from me. He said, don't speak to her like that. My mom went quiet. Then she said, you don't know everything. Carter said, I know enough. He hung up. I cried after that. Not because of the comment, or not only because of it. I cried because Carter defended me against my own mother more easily than my mother had ever defended me against anyone. The next day, Emily posted a story wearing the black dress. The caption said, some people hate when you look better than them. I screenshotted it and sent it to her. I wrote, this is embarrassing. She replied, so is begging a guy to stay with you when he clearly notices other people. I sent that to Carter too. He blocked her. That should have ended it. It didn't. My mom's birthday was 2 weeks later, and my dad asked me to come because he didn't want the family fully falling apart. I told him I would come, but Carter wouldn't. My dad said that was fine. My mom was annoyed when I arrived alone. She asked where Carter was. I said at home. She said, he's part of the family too. I said, not this family. Dinner was tense from the start. Emily barely looked at me. My mom acted fake, cheerful. My dad kept trying to talk about whether like that would save us all from the circus. Halfway through dinner, my mom said, Emily has actually been talking to someone new. I said, good for her. Emily smirked. My mom said, he's very sweet, mature, responsible. A lot like Carter, actually. I looked at both of them. Something felt off. Then Emily said, maybe I just have a type. My dad told her to stop. My mom said, she's allowed to speak. I said, who is he? Emily leaned back and said, why do you care? I didn't answer. I just opened my phone and texted Carter. Did Emily try to contact you from another account? He replied almost immediately. Yes. I was waiting until you got home to tell you. My stomach dropped. I asked him to send screenshots. He did. Emily had made a new account with no profile picture and started messaging him 3 days earlier. At first, she pretended to be someone from his class. Then she sent a picture of herself from the neck down and asked if he recognized her. He didn't reply. She kept going. The last message said, your girlfriend doesn't deserve you. I looked up at Emily. She was smiling like she knew exactly what I had just found. I put the phone on the table and slid it to my dad. He read the messages. Then he looked at Emily and said, tell me this isn't you. Emily's face changed. My mom grabbed the phone and read it too. For 1 second, I thought she would finally be horrified. Instead, she said, maybe if you weren't so insecure, your sister wouldn't feel like she had to hide. That was the moment I understood it was never going to be fair. I said, you knew. My mom didn't answer. I said, you knew she made the account. Emily started crying and said I was making everything worse. I asked my mom again. You knew, didn't you? My dad looked at her. My mom sighed like we were all exhausting her and said, I told her she should talk to him if she had feelings. I didn't tell her to do it like that. The room went dead quiet. I said, you encouraged her to go after my boyfriend. My mom said I encouraged her to be honest. I said, with my boyfriend. She said, maybe if he had feelings for her, you deserve to know. My dad stood up. He said, are you hearing yourself? My mom said, I'm thinking about Emily too. Nobody ever thinks about Emily. I laughed once because I couldn't help it. I said, this whole family thinks about Emily. That's the problem. Emily shouted that I always acted like a victim. She said Carter only stayed with me because I made him feel guilty. She said if he actually had a choice, he would pick someone who understood him better. I said, then call him. She froze. I unlocked my phone and called Carter on speaker. He answered and said, hey, are you okay? I said, Emily says if you had a choice, you would pick her. So I'm giving everyone clarity. Nobody moved. I said, Carter, did Emily make another account to message you? He said, yes. I said, did you reply? He said, no. I said, "Do you have feelings for her?" He said, "Absolutely not." Emily's face went red. My mom looked angry, not embarrassed. Angry. Then Carter said, "And since everyone is listening, I'm going to say this once. I love your daughter, not Emily. Not some version your family wishes I wanted. Her. And the way you treat her is disgusting." My dad closed his eyes. My mom said, "That's enough." Carter said, "No. What's enough is trying to pass me to your other daughter like I'm furniture." Then he hung up. For once, nobody spoke. I stood up, took my bag, and said, "I'm done." My dad walked me to the door and apologized. He looked tired in a way I had never seen before. He said he should have stopped it sooner. I said, "Yes, you should have." Then I left. After that night, I didn't speak to my mom or Emily for almost 2 months. My dad called sometimes. He said my mom thought I was overreacting. I told him that if he called me to pass along her excuses, I would stop answering him too. He stopped. Carter and I stayed together, but I won't pretend it didn't affect us. For weeks, I kept waiting for something to go wrong. Not because I didn't trust him, but because my mom had spent so long telling me I wasn't enough that part of me still expected people to eventually agree with her. Carter noticed. One night, I apologized for dragging him into my family's mess. He said, "You didn't drag me into it. They tried to drag me away from you. That's different." I needed to hear that. A few months later, Emily tried to reach out. She sent a long message saying she was sorry for how things happened. Not for what she did, for how things happened. Very important little difference, because apparently even apologies come with fine print. She said Mom had put ideas in her head. She said Mom kept saying Carter would be better for her. She said after hearing it enough, she started believing it. She said she was lonely and jealous and didn't know how to stop. I replied with one sentence. "You could have stopped before making a fake account." She didn't answer. My mom reached out later through my aunt. She said she missed me and wanted to talk. I said I would only talk if she admitted what she did. She called me that night. The first thing she said was, "I never meant to hurt you." I said, "That's not an apology." She said, "I just wanted Emily to be happy." I said, "You wanted Emily to be happy with my boyfriend." She said, "I thought you were too young to know what you wanted." I said, "But Emily wasn't?" She had no answer. Then she said, "She needed him more than you did." That was the final cut. Not because it surprised me, because it finally confirmed everything. I said, "You don't get access to my life anymore." She started crying. I hung up. Carter and I are still together now. My mom is not part of our relationship, and Emily is not allowed near him. My dad still tries to keep peace, but I think even he knows there are some things you don't smooth over. Last month, Carter proposed. I said yes. We didn't tell my mom first. We didn't tell Emily at all. My dad found out from me. My aunt found out from my dad. Eventually, my mom found out too. She sent me one message. "Are you really going to marry him without your family there?" I replied, "No. My family will be there. You and Emily won't." She didn't respond. Emily posted a story that night. It said, "Some people forget who was there first." Carter saw it before I did. He laughed and said, "Was she there first? Because I remember dating you." I laughed too. And for the first time, none of it hurt the way it used to. Because my mom spent months trying to make me feel like my sister deserved my boyfriend more than I did. But Carter never agreed. And in the end, that was the only opinion that actually mattered.